Whammo 107.3, Pittsburgh #1 for hip hop and R&B. Pretty Kitty on your radio. I'm in the studio with the police chief, City of Pittsburgh Police Chief, Jason Lando. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you, sir. This is your first time in the Whammo studios, but not your first time hearing about Whammo. Like, you're a fan of Whammo, I heard.
Yeah, listen, Kiki, I grew up on Whammo.
Okay.
Grew up on Whammo.
Let me find out. Let me find
absolutely.
out. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the city. You were in Baltimore, right?
No, I was in Frederick, Maryland.
You were in Frederick. Oh, that's definitely not Baltimore.
A little bit different than
Yeah, see, never mind now, because I lived in Baltimore for 8 years.
Yeah.
As you can hear me saying Baltimore, right? I was like, oh, okay, we got some things in common, but never, ever say Baltimore as a part of the DMV.
Right.
That's a rule. We just can't. So now all my Baltimore-related questions, I have to throw them out the window.
I mean, I'll do my best, but no, I was definitely
not the same,
I
though.
mean, I went to Baltimore and ate some crabs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Definitely different. Who is Chief Lando? I mean, this is the first time I'm meeting you, so,
Okay.
I mean, of course we hear from the news, but who's Chief Lando?
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, I'm a Pittsburgh kid, born and raised. Was, born and raised on the east end of the city, and lived here my whole life. I knew from the time I was 5 years old I wanted to be a cop, and I lived right by the, at the time, the Zone 6 police station in Squirrel Hill, now Zone 4. And I would watch those police cars come and go, and I thought, man, that's what I want to do someday. And I joke around. I say me and my three best friends, when we were little kids, we played cops and robbers, and we swore. We did, the pinky promise. We're going to grow up and become crime fighters. And sadly, the two of them never made anything of themselves. They both became surgeons. And I'm the only one that became But listen, I followed, You
got me good.
Listen,
okay. All right.
I followed the plan. They didn't follow the plan.
Okay.
But no, they're great guys. They're both doctors, but I always wanted to be a cop. And, and so, like I said, Pittsburgh kid, spent 21 years with the Bureau of Police. I got to do a lot of really cool stuff. I was very fortunate in my career. One of my last assignments was the commander of Zone 5 out in the East End. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of was going out to Zone 5 and helping bring the police officers and the community closer together.
Okay.
We came up with a lot of different programs and initiatives that helped kind of mend some of those relationships, because there's tough relationships sometimes.
Relationship, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and we did some work with the youth. That work actually continues today. I'm very proud to come back and see one of our sergeants is kind of carrying on that program. We call it Youth Connections, where we go into the schools and we build relationships with some of our youth and help them see that the police, not only are we not the enemy, but it could potentially be a career choice for some of these young people. Yeah. So I was very fortunate to have 5 years as the police chief in another state, where I joke around and I say I learned how to be a police chief, in a place that was much less busy, where I could kind of focus on some of the more administrative things and learning like the ins and outs of chiefing. And just honored when Corey O'Connor called. And I stress Corey O'Connor because Michael O'Connor was my mayor in Frederick.
Wow.
So I said I only work for O'Connors.
But
when Mayor Corey O'Connor called and asked if I wanted to come home, I said, yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
So it's good to be back.
I love to hear stories about people who dreamed about being firefighters or police officers, but this is from back in the day. I don't think that kids do that anymore. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a superhero. They don't do that anymore. And so that's good to hear that was your dream and you lived through that. And you're walking in that today. So that's awesome. Did you ever have a moment throughout your career you're like, damn, why didn't I just do something else? This ish is hard.
No, I mean, honestly, like not a single day.
Seriously?
Yeah. And so I knew, like, when I was 16, I knew I wanted to be, a police officer, obviously at 16, way too young. So I wanted to do something like public service related. So I became an EMT, volunteered, and then became a paramedic and worked all through college as a paramedic. And then my last job before I got hired in Pittsburgh was as a flight paramedic for Stat Medevac. And then, when I got hired with the Pittsburgh Police, you have to leave all those jobs behind. So I did have a chance to do something a little bit different before policing, but I always knew a career in public service is what I wanted.
Okay. So no dancing, no No rapping, no football, no
Listen,
basketball, no other
sometimes
sports, no other career choice. That's it. Just this.
when we're
public
not
service.
on air, I'll dance and rap for you, and you'll see why I did not choose that as a career. And
All right.
sports, yeah, no,
I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see a
Yeah.
little two-step. I want
Yeah.
to see it. Chief Lando, we have some big events happening in the city. We've just finished the draft. That was huge.
Yeah.
But with these events happening, and we'll talk about Southside Festival and Juneteenth happening right now, and with Whammo Day next weekend, and just a lot of different festivals and block parties, that kind of forces your administration to come up with some safety plans.
Yes.
And so, what have you decided to do to reassure our communities that we're going to be safe this summer?
Yeah, so as you know, one of the things that we came up with, and I give a lot of credit to Commander Abraham and some of the Zone 3 community members. This is really a community-led effort is for the South Side. And I'm a South Side resident now. I live right down there in the flats, so I see it all the time. I'm coming up with the South Side plan. We want everyone to come out. We want them to have a good time, but we just want to keep it as safe as possible. So as you know, we're closing Carson Street. We're kind of calling this a pilot program this year to see how it goes.
Okay.
Closing Carson from, I believe it's 12th to 18th Street. We are going to have a significant number of police officers and also private security down there. And it's kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of like a block party in the South Side, but with a significantly increased police and security presence. We're going to take some of the danger out of it by, you mix like people who've been drinking and then they're spilling out onto Carson Street with the traffic. So the Carson Street's going to be closed in the area where most of those bars are. And we just, we want people to enjoy themselves, but to do it responsibly.
Okay.
Another thing that we put into place was we slotted for 12 police officer positions to kind of split their time this summer. So they're going to report downtown in the earlier part of the evening, late afternoon, early evening. They're going to help downtown with some of the concerns we've been having down there. No secret, we've been having issues with some of the juvenile concerns. And they're going to spend about half their shift downtown, and then they're going to head over to the South Side and just kind of be a force multiplier for the security that's over on the South Side. So we're just trying to be, recruitment is an ongoing issue for us. We got to get our numbers up, but we're trying to be innovative with the staffing that we do have.
You mentioned the issues that we're having with our teens. I wish I had the right question even to ask, because I don't even know. It's like these teen takeovers. I'm not sure what the hell is going on. But across the country, it's not just our city.
Right.
This is happening everywhere. I don't even know why this is sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are these teens getting together? Like, y'all want to go to East Liberty and just hang out and make some old people mad? You want to do that? Sure, let's do it. Let's meet up at 8:00. So whatever the plan is, we got to stay 3 steps ahead to make sure that we contain, whatever issues or activity that's going on. How do we address this situation? I know, with East Liberty, and this just happened. I know the chaperoning policies is still in effect in Market Square. Thank goodness for, Kennywood, and they have their chaperone policy. Is this something that we may have to do everywhere in the city of Pittsburgh with chaperoning? And are we putting our parents on the spot? Like, okay, if your kids are downtown doing something, if your kids are in East Liberty or even anywhere in the city, you're now responsible.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on something I think is really important. This has to be a team effort. And when I say a team effort, I'm talking about, public entities, private entities. We all have to come together as a community and say, like, how can we help address this issue, right? Because, and I think you might have heard me say the other day on the news, I get frustrated because I see my officers out there dealing with the same kids, arresting the same kids over and over again, to where they know these kids by name. I think sometimes the kids aren't being held accountable for their actions, both at home and in the juvenile justice system.
Right.
I think that we need to, and I'm a big advocate for like working with youth and helping to better youth. But if you're downtown and you're hurting someone, you're carrying a gun, you stab someone, you rob someone, there has to be accountability.
Yep.
And so, the police play a very important role in this, but this cannot just be a police problem. And so I think what I'd love to see is have us all come together as a community and say, like, who owns what part of this and how can we help?
Yeah.
And so that's something that we're working on right now, kind of behind the scenes, is bringing together the stakeholders and trying to collaboratively solve the problem. And you did hit on one other thing that's really important. Not that this is in any way an excuse or makes it acceptable. This is a national phenomenon that we're seeing right now. I talk to police chiefs in other cities all across the country. This is happening in every major city across the country. I can't really explain it other than I think social media plays a huge role.
Yeah.
I mean, that's social media is it brings people together, but not always for the good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm always fearful every summer because of the crime. And it's sad because I work hard, I pay my taxes, I pay my bills, I pay my rent, I'm a good citizen, and I should be able to go wherever I want to go in the city and feel safe. There are times when I'm going to just put it out there. I even feel bad feeling this way, but if I see a group of kids on the corner, it's like, oh. But they're not doing anything.
Right.
They're just on the corner. I don't want to feel that way.
Right. Right.
But the kids are not doing anything. They're just hanging out. So it's like, and I don't even know if you can answer this question, but it's like, do we need after school programs? I remember, and I know I'm interrupting my own damn question, but I remember seeing a story. I'm still connected to Baltimore News, but they will put like community advocates, counselors at the harbor, and because that's where the kids were hanging out. And so they'd be at the harbor and they talk to the kids. All right, well, y'all could hang out, but don't smoke weed or no fighting. Is that something that we can implement here? Like, how do we? It's kind of difficult because if the kids aren't doing anything, It's like, what do you say to them? You move, but they're not doing anything. They're allowed to stand on the corner.
So lots of questions there.
I know. I'm everywhere.
Lots of stuff to process. No, we're good. So, we do have groups in the city that we, kind of refer to as violence interrupters, and they're individuals. And some of them, some of them when they were younger, they were in trouble themselves, and now they want to be that force for good that helps steer these kids in the right direction. Like, hey, don't do what I did, and others, who might not have, had any issues when they were younger. They just want safer communities. But these folks are out with us. They're out with the police. One of these days, we got to get Reverend Cornell Jones on.
I love him. I call him my cousin.
Okay, all right.
Because they're the same last name, so I call him cousin. I love Cornell.
Well, Cornell's a rock star. He's amazing.
He is.
But Cornell's really working to bring the police and our violence interrupters together, because when we're down there, I think that's a perfect situation where if the kids aren't doing anything wrong, or it's just kind of like low level, like, hanging out, cutting up, but not where the police need to be involved, then we rely on those community members, those violence interrupters, to go out there and engage the kids in positive conversation and say, hey, like, what are you guys doing tonight? Like, hey, did you know this is going on? Maybe you could go to this neighborhood and, there's this event going on tonight, and steer them in the right direction. So it's not always the police that are engaging, because we know, like, as soon as the police engage,
immediately,
right,
fear, intimidation,
right,
all those things, and it's like now I'm refusing you talking to me. I don't want to talk to you because there's no trust,
right. And so those groups are out there. They are out there doing that work. And then, if we do see a group of kids that are violent, then we have to step in, because we can't put our violence interrupter groups in a position where they're getting hurt or assaulted. So we are working together, and we are working to even improve that relationship between the police and and our community members.
Okay. We talked about the kids. We talked about trust, and you have a new program that you are working alongside, or working with, or implemented into the Pittsburgh public school system. Tell me about this program, because I'm so fascinated by this.
Yeah. So listen,
and why it's taken now for us to do this.
Well, you got to come to one of these, because you have to see it with your own eyes. But
okay.
So a couple years ago, out in Zone 5, we started this program. We called it Youth Connections, and it was just a way for us to build better relationships with the young people. The very first session, because we learn by trial and error.
Okay.
The very first session, we reach out to Westinghouse. We had some great contacts at Westinghouse, and we said, hey, we'd love to come and just do some casual conversation with the kids, and work on building trust. And they're like, yeah, sure. So we bring 10 police officers, but we were in uniform. And these kids walk in the room and see 10 cops in uniform.
Oh, crap.
Let me tell you, I can't think of a better way to shut down a conversation, right? So we're like, okay, back to the drawing board. So now, I mean, this was years ago, but the next time we did it, we went in, just street clothes. We did not tell them who we were until we ate lunch together. And they just knew we were the guest speakers that day. And they're like, oh, I get to get out of class. I don't really care who these people are. I'm gonna, you know. And so we eat lunch, having good conversation. And then after there was like a good rapport going, then we're like, okay, let's do some introductions. And I stand up at the time and I was like, hey, my name's Jason Lando. I'm the commander of the Zone 5 police station. And then there was like a gasp, you know, in the room. And then like the next person, hey, I'm Officer So-and-so, Zone 5. I'm Officer So-and-so, Zone 4.
Oh, crap.
And then by the third or fourth introduction, inevitably every time, one of the kids would say, are you all cops? And we're like, sorry. And but the funny thing is, like, by the time they realized that, we had already had great conversation and they saw us as human beings. And so it was, I joke around, I go, it's too late to hate us. You already like us.
Right.
And so we did that for a couple of years. I left, you know, went to Maryland. That was like probably, you know, I guess the lack of a better term, like my passion project. You know, I just love doing that. There was an officer, now a sergeant. Her name is Selena Selander. And she called me literally the day I came back to Pittsburgh. And she said, hey, does this mean we're doing Youth Connections again? So she's a supervisor now. And I said, we can do it, but I need you to run the program because I have so many other things going on.
Right.
So she runs the program now. She's in the schools on a regular basis. She has a core group of probably 15 or 20 officers. And so I don't want to give up too much because, you know, some of those kids might be listening right now.
Right.
But the coolest part of it is when they come in the room, all they know is that we're the guest speakers. They have no idea who we are. And every single time it goes the same. They're like, wait a minute. How are y'all cops? You're cool. Like, you're just normal humans. And we're like, yeah, that's the purpose of all this is like you're getting to know us as people. And then when those kids see those officers later out in the street, after school, you know, wherever, the officers, you know, report back and they say the encounter was much smoother. It was much friendlier. The kids recognized me. And when I said, hey, guys, can you clear the corner? They're like, yeah, okay, you're cool. Like, I know who you are.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
And so it's all about relationship building. And then hopefully the side benefit is in a year or 2 or 3 years from now, when these kids are out of high school and they're looking for jobs, that they would potentially consider becoming a Pittsburgh police officer.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up because you just announced a new graduating class of recruitments? Or
34.
34.
34.
Nice. Is that a big class or is that a...
So our max capacity for a class is 40. We can't fit more than 40 in a classroom.
Okay.
So 40 is the max. But there have been a couple classes where we've had, 10, maybe 15 people. So to have a class of 34, and
that's a good look.
We're starting another class later in the summer, and we are probably going to have to cut people to get down to 40 because we have so many candidates.
What is different? Did you have to implement a new curriculum as far as the academy and how they learned and tactics to bring those class sizes up? So what was different?
Honestly, I mean, I think the pendulum is starting to swing in the other direction. So we went, and it's unfortunate that we see this, right? We see the pendulum swing where it's like, oh, everyone supports law enforcement and everyone hates law enforcement. We gotta find like that center point where it's like, hey, we want cops to be responsible, do the right thing, no excessive force, treat people well, but also they have a job to do, and they're not the enemy when they're out there doing their job. And so I do think right now we're in a period where, 5 years ago, no one wanted to be a cop, very anti-law enforcement. Police departments across the country, I think, have been working very hard to build those relationships, to do what they can to show that, hey, we are humans too, just like the Youth Connections program. And now I think people are starting to, come back around. The other interesting thing that you see in these classes, whenever I teach at the academy, I always say, introduce yourself, give me your name, the neighborhood you're from, and why you want to be a Pittsburgh police officer. And the reasons I'm getting from people now are different than in the past. So
Okay.
previously it was, like, I want to chase bad guys. I want to, I was in the military. This is kind of like a logical next choice for me, which are all fine. But now you're hearing stories about, people say, hey, I have a brother or a sister that suffers from addiction or mental health issues. And, I want to do something with my life to help combat that. And so I think people are also looking at policing from a different perspective.
Okay. I want to commend you for a program I heard about on the news where you are designating a mental health trainee or a representative. Maybe, of course, you
I know what
me
you're
the right
talking about.
terminology, but yeah. I think that's awesome because not every situation calls for, I don't know, detainment or arrest or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like there's situations that are special and not everything needs to be addressed in that traditional manner. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
so it is we call it our co-response model.
Yeah.
Co-response. So we have a police officer and a clinician, therapist, social worker, and they are embedded together in a vehicle, and they're partners, for lack of a better term. They're partners, just like
Right.
two cops driving
Right.
around. It's just, I think, to me, it's such a badly needed program. It's really neat to watch the officer and the co-responder, how they come together. The officer, will get some special training, and the way once they have had a chance to work together for a while, and our co-responder teams, this is kind of a revamp of a program that kind of went by the wayside last year. But those teams work closely together. They know each other. And when you watch them in action and you see them out there, they arrive at a scene, and if someone's having a mental health issue and it's not, there's not a safety issue going on, like the person's not armed, they're not being aggressive or violent, you see like the police officer like kind of fades back, and then the clinician or the therapist will do their work.
Mm-hmm.
If they arrive on scene and the person is really aggressive, or, you think that they're going to be assaultive, that's when the officer comes forward and the clinician steps back. So it takes a while to build that rapport with that team, but it's really cool to watch them in action. Where I came from in Frederick, there was no program like that, and for me that was a big priority. So we built a program that we called the Crisis Car. It was actually it was a police officer, a therapist, and a paramedic. And the three of them together would go out, because a lot of these calls involved people that were having either significant medical issues, overdose. And so having that, we called it a tri-responder program. So maybe one day we'll get there here. But for now, to see that co-response model come back, I think we're going to see people that are in crisis that need help. We're going to see fewer arrests. And we're going to see people getting the treatment they need instead of potentially like getting arrested for. One of the examples I would say is someone's acting out and the officers arrive on scene. That could end up in like a arrest for disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
Where maybe that person's having behavioral issues
Having
and
a
they're not really
crisis.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to see better outcomes and fewer uses of force.
Yeah. I participated in the Citizen Police Review Board Academy, I believe it's called.
Yeah, Citizen Police Academy.
And let me just tell you, I think this should be open to, well, it is open to anyone who wants to participate, and it should be more frequent. But I got, after the few weeks of training, I got a better respect for the police. Did not understand, like, as far as a taser, how to use a taser. Like, you're supposed to say taser, taser, taser before you use a taser. How far back you're supposed to be to the person. I had to do a simulator where the person on the screen had a knife and I had a gun, and it was like a domestic violence. I still have chills just talking about it. I would love for people to be, to have the ability to participate in programs like that. If that program is still around, bringing it around more often, because being in that position with the instructions that I got from the other officers and the officers in the room, like, that's what we have to go through every day.
Yeah.
Like, do you shoot the person that has a knife? because they don't have a gun. So you don't what if they come at you? What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to aim for their head. You're supposed to aim for their, and everything happens so fast.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share that with you, that it was just such a respect, because you don't know it. Every day you see the badge, you see the uniform, you see the car, and immediately you tense up. It's it's a bad interaction. It's very traumatic, but nobody understands that when you leave your house, you also have to think, am I going to make it home? Absolutely. So when you have our kids, me, my son, my husband, my father, anybody that I know or even don't know, everybody comes out of their house thinking, am I going to make it home? So you too have to think that. And I think that more people need to think that every day. And I know I ramble a lot, just in case I make money rambling. So, but I wanted to share that experience with you and ask if that program was still around, and maybe talk about that program, because some people probably don't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
You're talking about the Citizens Police Academy,
yeah.
And that program is still around.
Good.
But you also brought up another thing I kind of wanted to touch on, which is something that started on a smaller scale in Zone 5, and then did the same thing in Maryland, and now I'd like to do it now that I'm back, and that's called the Chiefs Community Advisory Board. So in Zone 5, we called it the Commander's Cabinet, and it was a cross-section of community members, like a really good, diverse cross-section of community members, whether it's residents, business owners, youth, our activists. We wanted everyone involved, and we'd come together every month or every other month, and we would just talk about, hey, what are the issues going on in policing right now? And we'd let people ask questions. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we would watch body camera video from a nasty incident that played out somewhere in the country, and we would talk about the decision making that goes into that. Mm-hmm. But in Frederick, the very first Chiefs Advisory Board session, we ran the shoot, don't shoot scenarios, the same one you were talking about.
Okay.
And I won't say his name, but we've become good friends. We actually still text to this day. But he led all of the anti-police protests. This gentleman back in 2020, mm-hmm. And I invited him to join the board. I give him a lot of credit. He joined the board. The media came and filmed this first session, and we said we're going to do shoot, don't shoot scenarios. And I said, who would like to volunteer? And he goes, yeah, I got this. And I give him the simulator gun, and it was, I remember this scenario. I remember this scenario. It was a person, in a hospital, in an ER. The staff called and said there was someone in the ER that came in with a gun. Mm-hmm. And he's like, being all cocky, yeah, I got this. I'm going to show this bad guy who's the boss. And he walks in, and as soon as the scenario starts, he shoots a doctor, he shoots a nurse, he shot a baby out of someone's arms. And when the scenario ended, he turned around, he handed his simulator gun over to me, and he goes, I couldn't do this. He's like, I'm done. And that was it. But to this day, we've stayed friends, because I think he realized, and I'm not here to say every cop's perfect, mm-hmm. But I think he realized the job's a lot harder than people realize. And so so we ran that program for, the entire time I was there. And right now, one of the things we're doing is working on getting names of community members to start the Chiefs Advisory Board here. So I can guarantee you, opening night of the Chiefs Advisory Board, I'm hoping to have it put together by the end of the year.
Okay.
I just want to be very thoughtful in the way we do it.
Yeah.
We'll probably have about 50 community members on this, but I guarantee you, opening night is going to be shoot, don't shoot scenarios. So.
Please let me know when you start it. I want to be there. Because I will definitely give my little personal testimony. Say, I done shot this man, and and he had just a pair of pliers in his hands. I didn't even mean to shoot him. But thank you so much. My last question is, what is one thing that Pittsburgh residents believe about crime and public safety that you think we're getting wrong?
People think that crime is out of control. And I mean, as the police department, first of all, no amount of crime is acceptable. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not trying to minimize people's concerns.
Crime is crime.
Right, crime is crime. And I'm not trying to minimize people's concerns.
Right.
But we have crime analysts. We look at the stats, the numbers. And I realize, crime is also a feeling, right? So, if someone doesn't feel safe leaving their house, that's a problem that we have to address. But when we just look at crime stats, I'll get messages from people that say, the murder rate's through the roof. And actually, we are at some of the lowest point in both our fatal and non-fatal shootings. So homicides and aggravated assaults, we're at some of the lowest points we've been at in the past 5 to 7 years.
Mm.
And so while any shooting is unacceptable, I don't want Pittsburgh residents to feel like, that there's like this massive spike. We're actually, from 2022, we are down. I don't have the percentages in my head, but we are down from 2022 very, very significantly in non-fatal shootings. And I want to say we're down 50% in non-fatal shootings. And in homicides, we're down about 25, somewhere around 25% from 2022.
Okay.
So last year was one of the lowest years on record. We've seen a very slight uptick in the homicides, but still from 2022, 23, and 24, this year so far, we're down very significantly.
Okay.
So we're still going to keep at it. We need the community to be our partners. We need them to help. We need them to call 911 when they see something.
Mm-hmm.
We need them to be good witnesses. We are out there to serve the community. We're doing everything we can to get our numbers up. But I just don't want people to like walk away with the feeling that crime is higher than it's ever been, because that's just not the case.
Okay. Anything else you want to share before we get out of here? And I'll let you hang out and celebrate on the South Side and Juneteenth and all that stuff.
We just want everyone to have a good summer, be safe, and I look forward to coming back sometime.
You are always welcome.
Thank you.
Always welcome. We'll make sure we have the toilet working.
I was just gonna say, next time that bathroom better work.
The bathroom's gonna be working.
Because I don't know if the listeners are gonna hear this part, but she said you're gonna have to. The elevator's broken, the bathrooms
the elevator's
are broke.
broken, and the bathrooms don't work. So
Right.
yeah, that's how we welcome our guests. We make sure nothing is working.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Chief Lando. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Have an amazing summer. Let's have a safe summer. If there's anything you need from Whammo, you just let me know.
Thank you very much. You
All
take
right.
care. Yep.
Whammo 107.3.